All right, well, thanks all for being here. I'm really excited to talk about this. Like Sarah said, I hope this is something that you'll find informative and helpful for when you're going out to classrooms, connecting with teachers and students, and really just being able to share your STEM story. This is what we're going to be talking about today, because it's a really important part of being a scientist and engineer is doing outreach and connecting to others. So I just want to start with this quote, career development is not just about jobs, work, and careers, rather it is about life stories. And your life story is the key part in this. So we really want to keep that idea in mind as we're thinking about why we're doing this. So why share our STEM story? That's the main question. Why are we here? Why are we talking about this? So the big one is to build understanding of what a real STEM journey looks like, right? Everybody's journey in STEM, how you got here, is going to look very different. So by sharing the experiences that we've gone through to get here, the goal is that hopefully we're able to inspire someone to persevere through challenges. We also want them to leave, with the idea that we can inform someone that a STEM journey is often changing. So it's okay if I don't know what I want to do at this time. It's okay to change my mind. And then lastly, our goal is to remind someone that there are others who can help, right? So I don't have to do this alone. It's very rare that someone successful in STEM is able to accomplish what they've done all alone. So there's often a lot of important people along the way to help. Another component of sharing your STEM story is to support this group of underrepresented students that are often not seen in STEM. So this STEM story that I'm going to share with you is catering more towards high school, college level. So keep that in mind. That's who I developed this story for. So I am the Associate Director at the K-12 STEM Center. I've been here for about 2.5 years. And in my position, I have two primary roles. The first is I lead the elementary level initiative for the center. And the second part is I lead the assessment evaluation for the center. So my journey here is quite unconventional. I didn't take the approach that most people in my position would take. So I'll start at the beginning. So this is my STEM story. So I was born in Mexicali, Mexico, in the state of Baja California. You can see in the red dot on the map there, that's Mexicali, and Los Angeles is up on the left. I immigrated to the United States with my family, my 3 older sisters and my parents when I was just a toddler. My parents didn't speak English at all. So even though they had college degrees from Mexico, they weren't really worth anything in the US because of the language barrier. So they had to start at the very bottom with minimum wage jobs. So my exposure to science at that age was really limited. It was limited to my elementary school, which at the time was pretty much every other week we would open a science textbook and read from it. We would learn some vocab words, and every once in a while we would watch a Bill Nye the Science Guy video. In middle school and high school, I did take science classes, mostly because they were required. And I learned from that experience that I really liked science, and it was mostly because I was good at it. So I really didn't know when I was graduating high school what I wanted to do. I liked science again, but I didn't love it. And so when I was applying to colleges, I applied as an undecided, undeclared major because I, again, had no idea what I wanted to do. I did apply to local colleges because I didn't have the money, or my parents didn't have the money to afford a dorm or an apartment. So I knew I was going to commute from home. I was undecided, undeclared. I was taking biology classes because I liked it. And I decided I would just major in it because it felt like I could actually get a job with biology versus something like writing or art. So I joined the minority science program at UCI, which supports minorities doing biological science research. And I was placed in a lab that was studying the evolution and ecology of color vision in butterflies. And so it was mostly a genetics lab. So it was a lot of tedious lab work. And I was placed under the mentorship of a PhD student. And that PhD student did not want to be my mentor for whatever reason. She did not want to assist me. She didn't want to support me. She didn't want to help me out. So I was left to do a lot on my own and try to figure it out on my own. There were no other undergrads in the lab or grad students. It was just us two. And so I quit the lab, and I was going to quit the program altogether and just not do research, but the director of the minority science program encouraged me to try another lab. So I thought, okay, I'll give it one more shot. So I was placed in the lab of Dr. Nancy Burley at UCI, and she studied ecology and evolutionary biology of zebra finches, so these cute little birds on the screen. And it was such an amazing experience, so different from the one before. And that was an amazing experience. Dr. Burley, for whatever reason, saw a lot of promise in me. So she supported me the way she supported her grad students. She invited me to attend their weekly journal sessions where they reviewed literature. She encouraged me to lead my own research project, to publish, and to present at different conferences. It was really amazing. She supported me in writing up my work, and she gave me the ability to be first author in that publication, which is really rare for a faculty member to give an undergraduate in their lab first authorship. So that was amazing of her, and she was really supportive of my work. And towards the end of my time in college, my mentor, Dr. Burley, encouraged me to apply to PhD programs. So I applied to UC Davis's Animal Behavior PhD program and Cornell University's Neurobio and Behavior PhD program. And I got accepted into both. So I went to UC Davis that fall to study animal behavior. And I got to study elephants, zoo elephants specifically, which was pretty cool and a pretty unique experience. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. Most of the grad students in the program had been studying their study species for many years. Most of them had gone into the program with a master's or with an internship, having done internships with really impressive people in exotic places like Costa Rica, and I didn't have any of that. I was also by far the youngest, having gone straight from undergrad in the program, and I just didn't look like any of the other students. I had different interests, so it was really hard to connect. And again, I felt that imposter syndrome, like I wasn't meant to be there. I didn't belong, and I had just gotten lucky getting accepted into the program. About halfway, a little bit more than halfway through my PhD program, I realized I didn't love what I was doing. It was really cool, it was really interesting, but I wasn't loving it. And I'm someone who really is driven by passion in my work. And so I decided about year 3 or so that I didn't want to be an academic. I didn't want to pursue academia. I didn't want to become a professor, but I wanted to finish my PhD because I was pretty close to finishing. And so during that time, I started doing outreach with elementary school kids. It was part of my NSF award, which I forgot to mention was something I won early on, which is really great. But I had to do outreach. And so I was going to elementary schools, talking about science. And I was really nervous the first time. I thought students wouldn't like me, they'd be really bored. But it went great. And that was really the moment where I felt like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to talk to kids about science. I want to teach them about science and get them excited about it. After I graduated with my PhD, I didn't have a job for 5 to 6 months because I was, trying to switch careers. So I ended up volunteering for an organization in Sacramento called Sierra Nevada Journeys. And I was doing science outreach programs with kids. Worked hard. And so I was offered a part-time position as coordinator, but I was getting paid minimum wage. And having spent 5 years doing a PhD, to be having a part-time minimum wage job was a little disheartening and a little frustrating. And so I eventually worked my way to Orange County, back to Orange County. I got hired as the 4-H advisor of Orange County. 4-H focuses on youth development. And so I was doing mostly youth development work with a little bit of STEM on the side, but I didn't love it. And so again, being someone driven by my passions, I wanted to find jobs where I could focus solely on STEM education. And so eventually that led me here 2.5 years ago to the K-12 STEM Center, where I'm really able to apply everything I learned in my PhD program in terms of data collection, data management, analysis, learning to read literature effectively and implement it into your work. And of course, bring that passion of STEM to young audiences. And so that's where I am here. And that's my STEM story. So as you're thinking about how you're going to share your STEM story, there are a few things you'll want to consider sharing. So of course, a description of what you do and how it's related to STEM. So what does a typical day look like for you? Discuss the skills and abilities that your work requires. Think about sharing how you came to be where you are today in terms of how did you decide to be in the path that you were in. And then how people in your life have helped you in your journey. So this can be parents, friends, teachers, support networks, but it's important to again share that it's not us doing it alone. There's often help that we can get from others. And then having some time for Q&A, which I didn't have. But those are all things to think about as you're thinking about how you want to share your STEM story. What to consider: definitely think about the time that you're going to have as you're joining classrooms or connecting with teachers. Think about the format that you'll be presenting this in. So are you going to be connecting virtually through Zoom? Are you going to be connecting in person? Do you have access to technology like PowerPoint and slides? Think about grade band, right? That's very, very important. So if I was leading my STEM story to elementary, it would look very different. And then lastly, think about the context. So if it's high school, it's related to grade band. So if you're talking to high school or even early college students, they're probably going to want to know more about high school, your experience in high school and how you got into college and how you navigated that. If it's elementary, middle school, right, you're probably going to want to focus on different things, things that are more fun, more interesting, more silly. Recommendations. So when you can, use analogies, use real world examples when describing complex STEM concepts. It'll be much easier for people to understand. Use visuals if you can, so photos or videos. If you're in person and you're able to bring some artifacts of your work, that's really cool. Be excited about STEM, right? You want to see your passion come through and your interest in STEM. Otherwise, the students you're talking to are going to be like, well, that sounds boring. They look like they're bored. It must be a boring job. Be personable and relatable, and be honest about your struggles, right? And just know that your story is important, right? You might not feel like it's important, but it's so, so crucial for really, again, inspiring others to go through STEM and to experience STEM. You have a lot of ideas, a lot of experiences to share that are going to be very valuable to K-12 students. So I hope you acknowledge that and you get excited about sharing it and inspiring others. So thank you and have a good evening.